Hello, this is a special presentation of Stage Explorations, and we are here talking about theater and improv and promoting our production, Held2gether Sketches 11.
That's right.
So who's going to do the first question?
All right, I shall do the first one, I guess. I'll ask the both of you.
Okay.
All right. When did you first fall in love with theater and improv?
I'm going to look at you.
Okay, great.
Yes, okay, we'll start with Richard.
I have always loved performing. Ever since I was a little kid, I would do little performances on my grandma's front porch for the family. They didn't pay attention, but they were great performances. Once I got into high school, that's when I did more theater. And outside of high school, I did a lot of theater and various shows around Long Beach.
Okay.
And then about 7 years ago, I got into improv through Held2gether and have loved it since.
Very good.
Nice.
Thank you. Agnes.
Well, fall in love with theater and improv. I guess love would be a strong word. I guess like.
Strong like.
I haven't
Crush.
been. Yeah, crush. Yeah.
Your acquaintances with improv.
I know. It's the mistress. I mean, I haven't been doing it as long as you have, Richard.
I mean, who
do-
has?
That's true. The great Richard Martinez.
That's right.
I get to sit next to him.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, I did more film acting, so it was different because we could mess up.
Right. Right.
And so when we started doing theater, it was very nerve-wracking because it's just one take. You know, you couldn't mess up. So that was kind of actually that was and still is very scary.
Yeah.
But then I think improv helps a lot in improv lessons so that when you do mess up, you take it. And I think a lot of times when we do improv, the mistakes are the funniest moments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than like having it just go the straight and narrow. You have a mistake and all of a sudden, we're trying to justify this mistake and then it just gets wacky and so funny. So I think improv has definitely helped me transition from film to theater because I just remember the first time, like, I can't mess up. I cannot mess up. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, there's no like safety net in a live theater production.
But then that's what improv gives you. It allows you to make the mistake, and knowing that with the improv background, it's like, that's all right. I'll fix it.
Yeah. What about you, Chris?
Yeah.
When did you fall in love with theater and improv?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and I was in like 5th grade at Vallecito Elementary.
Okay. Oh, yes.
Shout out.
Yes.
Shout out.
I think it's not there anymore. But there was a play that we were doing for our class called The Reluctant Dragon. Shout out.
Yes,
Maybe
go Dragons.
It was a better movie. So then they were asking everybody who wanted to be what part. And then they asked, like, who would want to be the boy, the lead? And for some reason, I said, I do.
Yeah.
And it was like a lot of lines, and it was on stage like all the time.
Yeah.
And I loved it for some reason. I don't know. I haven't had enough, therapy to understand why that was such a enticing thing. But from then really on, I really loved performing and loved that immediacy of the audience. And there's something about that high wire act of being on stage that is such a thrill. And I know that some people get just terrified of that, but for some reason I always enjoyed that. So I think that's about it. The Reluctant Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to Google that.
Yeah, it's
At
deep.
the Valley Rio.
Vallecito.
Vallecito.
Lafayette, California.
Okay.
There it is.
Yes, shout out. Yeah.
All right. So, why is theater and improv important to go see and important to you?
Shall I?
Sure.
Okay. We'll figure out the order. By the end of this, we'll be
pros.
Smooth.
so smooth.
Yes.
Why is theater and improv so important to see? Well, I guess in my opinion, in this day and age, especially in Southern California, you can go probably days, if not weeks, without actually interacting with anyone. You don't need, you can have food delivered, you can get your gasoline, and without talking to anybody, you can do everything in the world. And I think that improv and theater is important for people to experience, because it reminds us of each other's humanity. If that makes sense. So it really helps us all get into a room together and remind us what's going on in life, and how can we, how we're all similar, how we're all different, and so I guess that's why it's thrilling to me.
Yeah.
Richard?
For me, I think theater. Yeah, I echo what you've said. I think it reminds us of our humanity. I know that whenever I go and see a show, it's very just rewarding and inspiring to see what goes into a production on all different scales. You know, I have season tickets to the Pantages, and so we just saw, we just saw Hello Dolly, right?
Sure.
And so you're sitting there like, oh, there's Betty Buckley, like Broadway legend, and all these amazing performers with a fantastic show and all these technical elements, and you're thinking, wow, how amazing, and you're right there. And I was fortunate enough to have pretty decent seats, and you are able to see just how things work. And then you also have theater on a more intimate level. And that to me, I love that probably more than the bigger scale shows, just because you're right there. You're seeing everything in these performers' faces and body language and all of that, and it's just one of those things that we don't get to see all of the time. Like Chris said, like we're sort of in our own boxes that we've created, and to be able to reach out and see somebody express something that maybe you connect to. And then to add to that, I mean, like, that's why theater, I think, is important to go see. Why improv is important to go see is because it's alive. It's right there in the moment. It's being created before your very eyes, and it's this sort of connecting device between the audience and the performers, because the performers can't do it without the audience, and the audience, wouldn't be seeing anything without the performers. And so because of that, there's just this connection. And I think anytime that we can have connection in 2019 is fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's my answer.
And didn't she reply to your tweet?
Oh, Betty Buckley?
Yeah.
Absolutely. There were some very attractive dancers in the show, and I tweeted about them. And I did not tag Betty Buckley in the tweet, but she just happened to see it. No, I just mentioned, I tagged the Pantages, and then I guess she saw it and replied and agreed that they were something to look at, and they were. And I would go see the show again for that.
That's
for
cool.
that.
That's the human connection.
Sure.
Yes.
That's the connection.
That's cool that she replied.
Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really
Yeah.
super cool.
Agnes, what
So-
about you? Yeah.
Well, theater and improv, I guess it's important to me because I'm a mom with 3 kids, and now that they're getting older, well, I mean, they're still young. They're 8, 5, and 2. One just had a birthday, and it's like my life has just been consumed by being a mom.
Right.
And I've been doing this for 8 years now, and we're done. We're definitely done having kids, and so I'm ready to just start, I guess, exploring who I am now, aside from being a mom. And so I think Held2gether has really given me an opportunity to do that, to just try other things besides being a mom that has absolutely nothing to do with being a mom. And so for me, I think that's very important, is just to discover, just something that I can do besides taking care of these little stinkers. I mean, loves of my life.
That's right.
Yeah, this is on the internet.
We'll fix this.
They can,
we'll edit that.
They'll see it years from
Okay.
now.
Fix that in post.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what they say.
Cool. I'll tackle the next question.
Yeah.
For those who might not know, the audience out there, hello. Let me find my spot. For those who might not know what improv is, please explain the improv concept.
What does Darren say? There's three things, right? What is it? One
Oh,
is
yeah.
like,
Well, I guess I'm the teacher. I guess I could
oh, yeah,
take
you
this
do.
one.
What do you think?
Yes.
Richard teaches the
I
classes.
teach the improv
so-
class. If we had looked at this ahead of time, I maybe
Right.
would not have asked the question that I was then
Right.
going to just answer.
Right. What do you think?
So improv, I mean, just for a basic overview, improv is the creation of scenes with one or more people on stage based off of the audience's suggestions that are made up in the moment. So there's a lot of different rules and philosophies of improv through different schools. Held2gether's main philosophy, we follow three sort of primary rules, which is agreement, which is saying yes to whatever information is presented to you in a scene. We also have adding information, which is taking that yes and then saying more about it, you know? And then the final one is commitment, which is just your all-in attitude of just being there and being present. And so with improv, I mean, like the term yes and is sort of the improv, you know, golden rule, right? And it really, it really, no, my brain just shut off. So saying yes and is really all about, in improv, you know, not putting up barricades, not putting up barriers, and letting the scene happen the way it's supposed to happen. And it has a lot of, you know, real life implications as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Agnes?
I'm going to say yes, and I agree.
Committedly,
Committedly. Yes.
Wow. Well done.
Yes. Chris?
Oh gosh. Well, so that's the perfectly put, and I would just say that improv is a thrill ride that can go beautiful and it can go terrible, and that's the thrill ride. I think anybody who either participates in it or watches it understands that nothing has been created. Things are being created before your eyes, and it's not that I'm creating something or Richard or Agnes is creating something. It's we as an audience and a troupe are creating something, and that's really thrilling to see something happen for the first time, because much of the time it starts off with a word or a profession or some sort of idea, a title, and nobody in the entire room knows where that's going to go.
Right.
And so improv is it's about trust and faith and all of this exciting things, and yes, it can go terrible, and but that's okay. You know, you know, the greatest comedians in the world have had terrible improv scenes. You know, so but that's the thrill of it. That gets everybody's kind of heart racing. Because we don't know what's going to happen. So
Right.
And I think I think even when it does go terrible, it's still really fun.
Yeah,
Because
I agree.
because like the worst scene, and I've been in some bad scenes that I'm responsible for. Unless I'm in a scene with you, then obviously
Right, that's
I'm
right.
responsible.
That's right. I've
but
never. That's right.
But some of the worst scenes are still so much fun because the audience knows, and the audience knows when it's not going well, but they still want you to power through it. You know, it's not like other forms of comedy, like stand-up, for example, where you know somebody has prepared this thing that they're going to come and say that they think is funny, and now it's like, I'm going to say this, and you're going to laugh because I think it's funny. And the audience is sort of like, okay, entertain me with your clever humor, right? Where with improv, they are a lot more forgiving, the audience, and a lot more on board with the ride, you know? Sure. And, you know, if you're doing like a short form show with short individual scenes, you know, one bad scene, that's whatever. It's 3 minutes, 4 minutes, it's done, and you're on to the next thing, and you're able to go forward. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. And with long form, I know one thing I always forget are names. And the name was said, and you're looking at this person, and you're like, Steve?
Yes.
And then someone else jumps in and it's like, oh yeah, Steve is the nickname she gives me when everyone knows my name is really David.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's that. Yeah.
But
that's it. It's like you mentioned. It's not us and them. It's all of us together, and they're
it's like
in on it too.
It's like we're being held together.
Together.
Ooh.
I'm gonna get a pen real quick.
Yeah,
I'm gonna write that down.
Held together. Wait, isn't that the name of our improv troupe?
Oh, it is. Our
Held2gether.
improv troupe is Held Together.
Wow.
Held2gether.com.
Yeah, with the number 2.
With the number 2.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Shameless plug.
Shameless.
What number?
I do the
4.
next question, I
4.
guess.
Okay.
Talk. I'm gonna be serious.
Yes.
Talk if you can about the power of improvisation and why you believe the benefits of improvisation strengthen every part of a person's life.
Well,
It's really
should
serious.
I go deep with this one?
Yes.
Well, for me. Okay. No, so I think with improv, one thing it's helped with me in my personal life. Well, not personal, but with everyday life is it helps me be more open to uncertainty. Because that's what happens in improv.
Right.
You don't know what the other person's going to say, and you have to go with it with the scene. So I think with just everyday life, I think that's definitely a help. Where if if I'm having issues with just another person, like a friend or something, they do something that wasn't what we agreed upon. I think with improv, that's definitely helped me to just move past that and just go with it and help it not be such a big deal to me.
Right. Well put.
Yeah.
Richard.
So I get to, as an improv instructor, I get to see a lot of progress from the outside with individuals, which is one of the best things about teaching improv. With Held2gether in Long Beach.
In Bixby Knolls.
Held2gether.com.
There's a Facebook page.
There is a Facebook page as well. But no, there are so many students will come through who are just looking for something to take them out of themselves. They've lived their lives sort of in one box. Sort of maybe introverted or they are funny with their friends, but put them in front of other people and they will clam up. Right. And through the courses, I get to see them come out of that. Yeah. And by the end, be these shining stars. There was one of the first classes that I ever got to teach. There was a woman who was probably in her late 70s, maybe early 80s, and at the beginning of each session of level 1, we talk in a circle about what brought us to this class. Like, why are we taking this improv class? And she said that she had lived her entire life sort of just in the shadows, just like not making any waves, not doing anything, just making sure I go through. She had been married and played sort of the dutiful wife and was the mother to her children, and that was all that she was. That's all that she let herself be. And she wanted to do more at this later age in life. And by the end of her first session, she was cracking jokes before and after class. Like, she showed up one day like in a boa, and it was and it was this great thing because it was just like, look at me, like just look at me, and that was so great. It was look at me. That's what she wanted. That's what she needed in her life, and improv allowed that to happen for her. And so, that was the moment that I knew like that teaching was the thing that I wanted to continue to do. And I knew that it was the right thing for me to do because it helped me to be more aware of where other people's journeys were. and not so focused on my own journey. Not that that's not important. It is important, but to put my journey in the context of other people's as well. You know.
That's
Right.
great. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, that's I work with a lot of small businesses around Southern California. Do training and consulting and coaching and all sorts of things like that. And one of the through lines that I see more and more that people need is the need to be present. And so much of our time is lost worrying about what happened or being anxious about what's going to happen. Improvisation is an excellent tool that I've incorporated into a lot of these small businesses to help them realize the power of being present, and that's what improv is all about: being there, being present, because you don't know what's going to happen,
right.
And that can be a real powerful tool for life as well. And so you can really see, that word mindfulness gets used a lot, and I think that improvisation and mindfulness can be very similar, because it takes you just forgetting about everything but being present on your partner, and it's helped me a great deal, and I've also seen it help a lot of people with unleash creativity. It helps with relationships. It helps in just such a wide range of ways. It's really exciting to watch.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you find out about Held2gether Sketches 11 production, and why did you have to be part of Held2gether Sketches 11 production? I think Darren asked, and
Yeah,
we had to
Darren
say-
asked.
he's a scary man. We had to say yes.
It's very scary. That's the next question.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
How scary is Dan?
Ooh.
Who would like to?
Sure, I'll start.
Sure, yeah.
So I was a part of Held2gether's first sketch comedy show 5-6 years ago. And that was an exciting moment because it was taking the tools of improv and extending them into this brand new thing for a lot of people, which is sketch writing and sketch performance. And I, coming from a theater background, I absolutely jumped at the chance to be a part of that. I actually, I don't know if I should say this on camera, I've actually never taken the sketch writing class. I know. I was
Rewind.
You taught
and
some
I
too.
taught them, yeah. But experience makes up for that.
That's right. There you go.
I know. That's maybe we'll edit that.
Wow.
I've done a lot of writing in the past and have done those things. And so when he offered me the chance to be a part of that first production, it was awesome, and then also super terrifying, because it's like I don't know what we're like. What we're gonna write funny SNL? That's super funny. And the way that the sketch, the sketch writing class sort of works, or the sketch performance class works, is he breaks you up into groups. Darren does, the director, and gives you writing prompts, and you have to write a scene versus those using those prompts, and you have half an hour to do it. And so that first day of class, in my first ever sketch writing class, he paired me up with one of our troop mates, Kendra, and I had never met her before at this point. So this is my first time meeting her, and our suggestion was, or our prompt was awkward pauses, introducing awkward pauses throughout the scene. And so it was like, hi, nice to meet you. We have 30 minutes to write a sketch together.
Right.
Go. And we ended up writing a blind date sketch because it seemed appropriate for our situation. Yeah. And it was so cool because it was pretty much from that first draft that we did, that's where it ended up in the performance. We didn't have to do very many rewrites on it. And so that sort of electricity definitely captivated me. And I've been in every sketch production except for 2. And every year I always think, all right, this is my last one, because I get older and it's harder to memorize the lines. And we have some late rehearsals. And I'm like, this is, there's usually language involved.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm done.
They do get late.
They do get, yeah.
Like past midnight.
Yes.
It's work.
Yeah.
We're sitting there like, it's now tomorrow.
Yep.
And we're
Yep.
still here.
And a lot of us have like work the next day. And, I've now learned to just take that week off, tech week. But then the show goes up and they're like, oh, I got to do this again.
Yeah.
I got to do this again. And I know there's a lot of people who want to come in and do the sketch shows, and I'm like, nope, sorry, taking your place.
I'm taking it.
I'm still gonna do it.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny because this is, I think, going to be my 4th straight show. And my very first time I got into it, I was nervous. I didn't know there was troupe members. I wasn't a troupe member yet, and I was nervous about it. I was like, wow, all these people are really good, and I don't know what to do. And he paired me up with Kendra.
Oh,
yeah, and
funny.
I think it's because Kendra makes everything better.
Yeah,
she makes us all feel better. So with Kendra, I kind of calmed down. We created something. We created the singers. I won't go into it further. I won't go into it further. But it's somewhere on YouTube, somewhere in the world.
Yes.
But that was a very special moment for me to be part of that, and to and it's like once you get used to that process. The other thing I think it's really important that I had to come to grips with is that I've written sketches by myself and written ideas by myself, and then you come into this collaborative environment to write a sketch, and you think you own the truth on what is funny. Like, no, this is a good idea, trust me. And invariably somebody else has a different idea, and you have to take a moment and say, wait, well, that's not my idea.
Right.
And then you kind of have to wrestle with that, and it's a real learning experience, because you learn this thing. If I take part of me and you take part of you, and we combine this thing that's never been created before, it's a real special moment, because and I think that's what's really exciting about these shows, is that these ideas didn't exist at the beginning of the year. It's not like we all had our own ideas and came in. These just kind of came out of these collaborative efforts, and so I think it's a real learning experience, and real exciting to do. Plus, everybody you get to work with is pretty amazing. So that's part of it too.
So the way I got started with sketch is I was doing improv, and then I had to take a break because with my most recent child, I ended up having pregnancy complications. So I actually had to go on bed rest and like stop doing everything. I even got a handicap placard. Wow. That was like, the coolest thing when I had. I know. But
hashtag goals.
Exactly.
Oh, that's
my life is fulfilled now. So.
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
So I had to take a break from improv. Because I had to take a break from everything. Mm-hmm. And then once he was older, and then I decided, I wanted to come back to this, but I wanted to come back to it slowly. I didn't want to just jump in and start performing or anything. So I saw that there was the sketch writing class, which I took.
Yeah, I took it too.
Yeah. And
it's a good class.
It's a good class.
It is.
We recommend it. Held2gether, I believe.
Yeah, Held2gether.
Where you sign up for those courses.
.com. So
Facebook.
So I took the sketch writing class just because it was, I wouldn't have to perform. It was something I could do while at home while taking care of my child, and just I could sit in front of the computer and just write. And like for me, that was comforting, is like sitting behind the screen in terms of getting back into this. So that's honestly why I took the sketch writing class, because I was like, oh, I don't have to perform. Yes, all I have to do is sit behind a computer. And then, I really liked the writing part of it. And then that year, Darren asked me to be part of the sketch show. And I was like, great. And I think something what you said, where it's a lot more than just writing, bringing what you wrote and presenting it. There's the whole collaboration part. And I think I was like super neurotic that first sketch show. Like looking back on it, I didn't have as much fun as I think I should have. Like this time around, this is the second one that I'm doing. I'm having so much more fun with just the whole process.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just more, with the first one, you know, like all I did was the writing, and I just like, okay, I have to learn my lines. It's gotta be perfect. I think I relied back on, you know, my pre-improv days, because, you know, I hadn't taken an improv class for over like a year and a half.
Right.
And so again, I'm going back to just writing. It's like, oh, I gotta be perfect, you know, and so since then I've done improv, and I'm just having so much more fun this time around. And so when Darren asked, I'm like, yes, I want to do it, you know, because I want to have fun, not just from the performance, you know, because people laughed at a joke that I sat behind a computer for 3 hours reworking these words and then just practicing the way it came out of my mouth so that it came out funny.
Right.
You know, and that's how it was that's how, like, I know I was with the first show. I was just like so high strung. And so this time around, I was like, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to take it easy. I know it's going to be fine, especially with the rehearsals that last until tomorrow. No, and like I know that I know what to expect, and I know I know the process, and I know the process works. And so this time I'm just having so much more fun this time, and I'm glad he asked me to do it again, just so that I can actually enjoy every step of it this time.
Great.
Yeah, there definitely is an element of having to allow yourself to have the fun, because I know there were, in some of my earlier sketch shows, I sat back. I wasn't necessarily like neurotic, but I was more afraid of bringing forth my ideas.
Right.
Like oh, they're not going to think that's funny, so let me just not think about that.
Yeah.
And then I think it was my second or third one. I was like, you know, like, I have some ideas, so let me throw them out there.
Yep.
And through that, we got some really funny sketches, and then some that weren't, and you know, got dropped or whatever. But once it was like, there's nobody who's sitting there like judging the, you know what I mean? Like, like it was just that freedom of like, yeah, I'm just gonna have fun. I'm just gonna have fun with this. It was, you know, this time, this is like what, like my, I don't even know the number, like I think 7th, maybe 8th show. We got the email the other day. I did not even realize that like this coming Wednesday, today's Sunday, is our off book day.
Right.
Me too.
Yep, I was like, oh,
Me
cool.
too.
I should probably look at my lines.
I need some time alone.
Kel sent something to
Yeah.
He's like, because we were still adjusting one of our scripts, and Kale was like, but you know we have to be off book this Wednesday. I was like, what? And I went back to the old email. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah. And so like,
But
maybe
I'm okay with it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not. I think I would have been totally freaking. Well, I did freak out for. I think I freaked out for like a minute, like just to process, and I was
Right.
like,
Yeah.
I'll be okay.
Yeah, it's totally just about like letting go and trusting and knowing that it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Like it's not gonna be the end of the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ooh, I think
Number
it's
6.
my turn.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so tell us, panel,
Yeah.
about Darren Held of Held2gether and the whole Held2gether creative team.
Don't know. Darren.
Darren,
met him yet.
Darren, hello. Who's that?
Yes. Well, I'll start, I guess.
All right.
Darren Held. So here's my experience with this. Darren, I'd heard about Darren. I was doing a show at the Long Beach Playhouse, and somebody in the show said, "You know, do you do improv?" And I go, I'll dabble. And I dabble, and not much. I haven't done it much lately. And she said,
I'm an actor.
I'm an actor. I don't. No, I have lines. Thank you very little. So she said, you should meet Darren. You would love him. And I go, okay, but I did move from New York. Okay, you know what I'm talking about? And I did, So and then through some friends, I went to see the Held2gether does a free show at Hot Java every month.
I think that's your camera.
Oh, sorry. That too.
Red light.
That's why I'm not in film or TV. Anyway, so you go, yeah. So I came in there with skeptical. I was like, well, okay, let me see what this is all about. And I think you were in the show. You were definitely in the show.
Okay.
And I remember like going, like, Darren walked in and started hugging everybody in the room. And there was this joy and this thing that I hadn't seen. And I was like, still kind of like, what's going on with this cult?
Right.
And why is everybody so happy? And the performances were great. And I laughed and I went, okay, I'm intrigued now. And then I started taking classes. I signed up for classes the day Robin Williams died because it affected me so much. I went, you know what? I haven't done this in a while. And so through that, I got to meet Darren and Kendra. And just Darren is the embodiment of joy. To meet him is to know like that he's created this culture, not only in the troupe, but in the classes and everybody that around, of people who support each other, who don't, judge each other. That it's a real magnificent thing he's done. And I would say that, and Darren and Scott. Scott is the musician who helps us with. We do improvisation musicals and things like that, and Scott's the genius behind all of that, and he helps us understand like what we're doing when a lot of times we don't know. So the Scott and Darren together, as the kind of the creators of Held2gether, if you will, have created really something special, and they've created such a place where anyone can walk in the door and be greeted and felt welcomed. And I'm going to stop, I guess. I'll find my camera next time.
Well, for me, it was after when I only had 2 kids, and that was when, I started my journey of I want to do something more than just being a mom. Mm-hmm. And so what do? I opened up the Long Beach Parks and Rec, the magazine, and I was just going through it, and honestly, I thought I was going to take up like a sport,
Right?
like
Sure.
kickball.
Crossbow,
Crossbow,
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like in Hunger Games. I'm gonna learn how to hunt my own food. I don't need anybody.
No, that's right.
I don't need grocery stores. So, yeah. So I started going. I just started going through the Long Beach Parks and Rec, and I saw that there was an improv class. I'm like, oh, I've never done improv. I had taken acting lessons, but I'd never done improv. Mm-hmm. And back then it was at a different location, which was like a 3-minute drive from my house. I'm like, I could do this. I'll just take one session. It was like 8 weeks or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'll just take one session, and then I'll just stop. And I did. I stopped for the next 8 sessions, and like by week 2, I was like, what am I doing? I missed like those weekly classes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so then I jumped right back in after that one. Yeah, after that one break, and then I jumped right back in, and then I've been doing it unless I had my handicap placard.
Sure.
That was the time that I had to stop. But then other than that, I've been back, and yeah, like you said with Darren and Scott, what they do, what they put on with the shows, and Scott does more than music. He actually does choreography too. So it's really cool. Like when you start with improv and it's just about us talking. Yeah. We're talking. We're doing space work, so you don't have like real props or anything, and you're just creating things. And then Scott comes in and he'll bring in music.
Yeah.
And then he'll bring in choreography, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is like, it feels like a real like Broadway production almost,
Yeah.
Like it's just so cool to,
yeah.
like you just feel so special to be part of part of this.
Yeah, Scott's no joke. He's had such a background, and he's artistic director for theaters in the past, and so you would know when he comes in, it's like, oh, this is serious now.
Yeah.
It takes it to such another level.
Yeah.
I know, like in previous sketch shows with Scott, it's so I love musicals. I just love musical theater, and I love performing in musicals, though I will likely never be cast in a musical. You know what I mean?
Same here.
So they're super fun. But these improvised musicals that we do are super great. And then with the sketch shows, I have a chance to like maybe write a musical that I could be in.
Yes.
And it's so funny because we'll in our little writing prompt things, our little 30-minute put together sketch moments, like we'll write some stuff out, and I'll and then if it's chosen to get moved on, Darren will connect us with Scott,
right.
And oftentimes it'll just like Scott will be like, okay, so like what do you want for this, and I'll get my little recorder out. I'm like, so it'll be like and my prince and far and all these things. And then I'll send it to him, and then the next day it's like a fully like orchestrated song. I'm like,
Did
what
I
a great!
do that?
I did, yes, what a great musician I am.
Yeah.
Sounded different in my head, but that must be how you heard it.
Right.
And it's just so cool to see that come together, and to be able to do these musicals, and Scott is just such a important and cherished and valued part of that process. Darren is okay,
He's fine.
He's fine,
But it's really should be called Scott Together.
It should be Scott Together. No, Darren, like
trouble.
what you guys have said. I know you're gonna hit it.
I'm gonna edit that part out too.
No, Darren is like what you mentioned, Chris. Like he's created this environment of just support and warmth and connection with each other that you don't get everywhere, especially in things related to performing arts. Performing arts in general, my experiences have been a lot of the times, especially in class settings, there's competitiveness.
For sure.
There's I had my ex went to take improv classes at a school in Hollywood, and it from that experience, it was all about like, well, what commercials did you book this week, and what's your agent got for you, and it wasn't about making friendships. What I love the most about what Darren has created with Held2gether is that as an adult, I have this venue and this opportunity to make friendships with other people, because as adults, I don't think we get those opportunities very often.
No play dates.
Yeah, no play dates. There's not like I mean,
Yeah, my kids have more friends than I do.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah, because kids can just go up to me like, hey, do you want to play with me? And whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't, like if I'm somewhere, if I'm at the grocery store and I see somebody who I think is like cool, I can't just be like, hey,
you
do you want to be a friend? Do you want to play with me?
Creepy.
I mean, it depends on
Security.
which grocery store you're going to.
Trader Joe's.
The Vons on Broadway, perhaps. I have stories about that Vons.
Oh.
That'll be for off camera.
That'll be off behind the scenes.
That'll be on our blog.
Yeah, but
Backstage,
just creating this environment where we can be friends and we can make friends, which is super, super great. And just again, that connection and that warmth and that support, which is so like, the last couple of years, I think, as a community, like Held2gether has had some really great moments with each other, and then there's also been some really sad moments, and I think we've been able to connect with one another in a way that we would not have been able to outside of this improv connection that Darren's created.
For sure.
And so anyway, I'm thankful to have Darren's friendship in my life, and definitely a role model.
He's
in
gonna hear
many
that.
ways. I know. As I was saying it, I was like, damn
hesitating.
it.
Do I have to?
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's such a nice guy that I want to be
You're
like.
going to get all my parts in the sketch
I
show.
know, yeah.
It's been a pleasure working with you all. The next one, yeah,
What
I
are
guess.
we, number 7? Yeah.
7.
Okay. Tell us about the Held2gether Sketches 11 production at the Long Beach Playhouse.
So there are
Yeah.
11. There are 11
11
sketches.
and- yeah.
11 main sketches.
Yes. Yep.
As well as several other
some
additional
smaller, like,
vignette
filler.
type things.
Yeah.
So the audience is consistently entertained.
That's right.
There's no downtime.
First time he's doing this.
First time ever.
Yes.
Yes. It's
History.
yeah. I know we're breaking ground.
Ooh.
Tell us about that.
You can mark that on your calendar.
Yeah. So it's I mean, it's the culmination of how many weeks is the class? 8 weeks? 6 weeks? 8 weeks, I think, maybe.
I think
Yeah.
because I think we write for 4 and then
And rehearse for 4.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And so each sketch has been written by the players in it. Like Chris mentioned earlier, nothing was written before the sketch show class started. It's all brand new. Doing it at the Long Beach Playhouse is so amazing. Our first few shows that we did were at other venues around Long Beach. We did it at the Found Theater, which was a lot of fun. We did it at the Expo, our home base. That was a lot of fun. But doing it at the Playhouse is just sort of this extra thing of like wonderment.
Yeah,
you know,
it's real special.
yeah, it is. It's really, especially because the Playhouse does do amazing work, and to be a part of that, you know, to be able to write, to get our Sharpies out and put our little legacy on the dressing room walls, is a lot of fun.
I would just say that, in addition to that crazy process that makes these 11 plus beautiful, weird creations. I think this show has really a bit of everything. It has kind of some physical humor, has music, some dance, if you want to call it that. We try. It also, you know, sometimes you compare Saturday Night Live is kind of the gold standard, or what people think of as for sketch comedy, and that has to play to millions of people. And I think that some of the things that you'll see at this show are the odd things that Saturday Night Live tries to fit in the last half hour that are a little more dark, a little more weird.
Yeah.
And what I love about Darren doesn't shy away from that. He's not trying to please the masses he's not trying to have these cookie cutter sketches. It's an incredible variety of, there's dark and there's odd and weird, and then they're all funny. It's just that I love the variety that the show has.
Yeah. I think going along with what you said about performing at the Long Beach Playhouse, you know, it's, you know, I grew up here in Long Beach, and so I've known about the Long Beach Playhouse for a while, and, you know, just getting the chance to perform there.
Right.
You've performed there, so I'm gonna talk to Richard like this now.
Yes.
So, no, it's, you know, it's like it's a dream to perform there, and you know, to be able to bring stuff from Held2gether there. It's just, it's like, it's a combination of like two the greatest worlds together.
Yeah. We this wasn't our sketch show, but in December we do a charity show every year. We've done it for the last 4 years for the WomenShelter of Long Beach, and we this year the tradition has sort of become that Chris sort of writes a musical parody sketch, and this one sort of centered around Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes,
and it was a very cool moment for me because, again, as a musical theater guy who loves musicals and wants to be in musicals but will not be cast in musicals, being able to sing what was like the Seymour part in that
Yeah.
on a legit stage with lights and choreography that Scott did and all these things was like,
cool.
whoa, this is super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just something magical about getting on that stage.
Yeah.
Which is super fun. Anyway, okay, next question. I think it's me, yeah? Or
Yeah.
okay.
Sure.
Number 8. For those of you keeping track at home, is there an underlining message of Held2gether Sketches 11?
We
You
can
know, I
make
saw
one up.
Yeah, I saw this question before we started, and I've been thinking about it ever since.
The
And
underlining message.
The underlying message. You know, I guess this is cheesy and it sounds a little businessy, but this is gonna sound so bad. The magic of synergy. When you put these different people in a room, and it's not one person's idea or the other; it's the culmination of their collaboration. Is that the right? That's a lot of big words.
No, but
and these things are being created out of thin air.
yeah.
And so it's I think that combining strengths of different people to make something that's never been created before can really and all to make I guess the other part of this is that we have enough bad news today in the world. It doesn't take long in the morning to get stressed out.
Yeah.
And I guess the underlying message is that everything is okay. There are parts of there's beauty still in the world, and this is part of it.
Yeah.
That's a good message.
Yeah.
That's a good message.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything to add to that.
Okay. Okay.
I don't either.
Anyone else? Okay.
No.
Well
Moving
done,
on.
Chris.
All right.
Yes.
The culmination of the collaboration.
Good job thinking about an answer when you
Right.
when you first saw the question.
I wrote it on my hand. Shall we move on?
Yeah,
Okay.
I
That
think
was okay. I'll do this one. What do you want the audience to get out of the Held2gether Sketches 11 production?
I mean, it sort of goes back off of what you just said as far as, like, there's enough ugliness in the world. Like, and going to see a show that examines that ugliness and all of those things is great. You know, those are important shows to go see. It's also important to go see something that's going to make you laugh and be silly and thought-provoking as well. I think what for me personally, what I want the audience to walk away from is, I want them to walk away just entertained. Yeah. Like, you know what, like today was a day, and now I'm gonna go and see the show, and I didn't have to think about X, Y, and Z. I was able to come here, have a good time. Maybe a couple of the sketches might make them think about some stuff, which is great. That's part of it. Yeah. And then you take from it whatever you're going to take from it and move forward, you know?
Right.
I know for me, like, every single show that I've ever seen, like, I've taken something from it, except for one show. One show was really bad.
Which one was that?
I know.
It was at the Pantages.
Oh, okay.
It was not a good show.
Okay, not a held together one.
That's again
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the blog again. We'll
Yeah.
talk about it.
But everything else, like, there's always something to take from, and that's like the magic, I think, of theater, is that, like we talked about earlier, it's that connection that we have with one another, and taking that connection in, and then going out into the world and doing whatever from that experience, you know.
That's great. Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
Thank
Well
you.
done. Thank you, Agnes.
Yeah. Ditto. So next question.
Ditto.
No, when you started talking, I was like, oh, I know what I'm going to say. And then as you started talking, I'm like, that's kind of what I was going to
Yeah.
No, I mean, and the reason why I started improv again is just to get away from the mom life. And so I think with the show, what I want is for people to, kind of like what you said, is when they come in, I want to help them just forget about just, you know, their any financial troubles they have, you know, relationship problems they may have outside of our little theater. Like I want to like sweep them into like a whole nother world and just, and I think the way it's set up this year, where it goes from sketch to like the little vignettes, and it just keeps going. Like there's not a lot of time to breathe, but I think that's okay, because it's like laughter, and then just when you think, oh, it's like a commercial, it's like no, we're not gonna really have time for those little Super Bowl commercials or anything. It's there's gonna be more and more. It's gonna keep coming. So I guess it's kind of like a movie, right? It's like a movie where it just doesn't stop. And I'm hoping that people forget, like, during the 2 hours, everything that's happening outside of those walls. And I think that's what happen.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, to kind of jump on both what you said. The other thing would be to have them walk out inspired. There's been enough times it's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to both of you, where somebody, like, after the performance at the Hot Java or at the theater runs up and goes, "I had no idea Long Beach did this. And how can I find more information about it?" And this happened to me with the last winter show. There are these guys that sit in front of this coffee shop that I go to every morning, and they're retired, and they have their big dogs out, and they just they say hello to me, and then, like, after the last couple of years, we've kind of had they're starting to find out a little bit more about what I do, and so it finally came out that I'm a performer in this troupe, and so one of the guys goes, "Well, I'm definitely going to go see it. I'm going to go see it," and they actually, all of them came, like their wives came to the winter show, and then he said something the next day. He goes, "That was amazing," and he goes, "I'm going to start taking classes." And he took the last free workshop.
Oh, cool.
There are free workshops.
There are.
Held2gether.com.
And he started taking that's somebody who in his 60s has found, like, this new thing in life, and it's just a thrilling thing to have them watch the show and go, I can write a funny idea. I can write, and it only took us 2 months to put this, from start with nothing to the end, and anybody can do this. So not at anyone. I mean,
you guys aren't that funny.
I just want to piggyback off of what you piggybacked off of.
Sure.
It is like the in classes sometimes there have been a couple of classes that I've led or that I've taught that were very difficult days. I won't go too political here, but there were just some days where people didn't have a reason to be particularly happy on those days.
Sure.
And as a group, and you come into the class, and that first few minutes, you just sort of feel it. Everybody's sort of like, all right, this is, all right, what do we, and then we go into this stuff, and by the end of it, it's sort of, we're not thinking about that anymore, and we're able to get our minds away from that for just a few moments, for a couple of hours, and we need that, because I know, like you said earlier, like you wake up and are immediately stressed out because it's like no. Oh God. All right. Well, what am I outraged about today?
Right.
And if you can have those moments of not having that, and then additionally, not only get away from it, but then also be inspired to create something of your own. That's incredible.
Do I read this last
one? Sure.
I don't. Why must
yes.
emphasis on must. Why must the Southern California community come to see Held2gether Sketches 11?
Well, I mean, because obviously we are in it.
Sure.
And
that's 3 reasons.
That's 3 reasons right there.
Yes. I think what you said earlier, where people don't realize there's improv in Long Beach, or even sketch in Long Beach.
Yeah.
It's weird because Long Beach has a huge, university with a very large theater department. And then yet when they graduate, people don't realize that there's still improv in Long Beach. And there's a city college too, which also has, I believe, has a theater department too.
Yeah.
So for college students, they all know they have plenty of theater opportunities, but then they feel like once they graduate, they don't know that that this is here.
Yeah.
And so piggybacking off of what you said earlier, no, I think that's why they need to come here and see that, Long Beach has improv as well, and has sketch. And, I think living in Long Beach, we're sort of, on the border of Orange County and LA.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Long Beach also has its own unique personality. And I think our sketches and the group reflects that.
Yeah.
Because it is Long Beach. It's not Hollywood and LA. It's not Orange County. It's Long Beach.
Yeah.
And that is why Southern California community must
Absolutely.
come.
Must come. I think there's a lot of great. First of all, come to check out this show is very funny. First and foremost, it's going to be a lot of funny, odd things that you never would have thought of that could actually happen in a sketch show. And I guess it was a few months ago. I took a class, a one-day class at a famous improvisation place in Hollywood. I'm not going to name their name. And I got in there, and people got up, and it all brought me back to that time where it's very competitive.
Yeah.
Cut through it. All I'm trying to do is be better than you.
Yeah.
And they got up there, and I was amazed. I was like, they're not that
Good.
They're not that good. Now that's not to say some of them are great. Some of them are brilliant. But I was surprised, and
It's like
I just
ego
couldn't believe.
without.
Yeah, I just went, oh, it kind of affirmed like, actually, we are very, very good, and we know what we're doing, and there's a lot of talent in Long Beach to come see, and a lot of joy. So I would say just to come see a funny show and experience the culture is, I think, a very special thing about Held2gether, and college credit. I guess that would probably no. There's no college credit. We're gonna edit that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be in trouble.
Again. I think for especially, I know it says Southern California, but Long Beach in particular, like why Long Beach should come out and see this show.
Sure.
Is because, like you just said, like there is, like both of you said, like it's Long Beach is this sort of melting pot in what is already a melting pot, of California, Southern California. And I too recently went to a Hollywood school for a free thing, and it was cool. But yeah, I kind of walked in, and one was in a room full of, I think there were maybe 22 people there. I was the person of color, which was awesome.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, cool, neat. And Held2gether, our show is not that. You're in the show, but
I'm in the show.
But just there's such a representation of diversity,
Sure.
and that inspires the type of ideas that we bring. Our experiences are reflected in these sketches, and so that's part of the reason. And two, I think what's super cool about Held2gether in general is that while some of us did have like theater and film background, a lot of people have not. Right. And so you see these performances by people who have not been sort of had the actor training,
Right.
And you get sort of a lot of times, like I'll see somebody like even in classes who are just coming, and I'm like, you're so genuine up there. Like I wish I was like that. Like I'm more like, here I am, I'm acting.
A verb, actoring.
Yeah, actoring. Yes, I'm actoring.
It's a verb.
So that's, just to see Long Beach reflected on stage and Long Beach's ideas, in a way that doesn't always get seen. Yeah. So anyway, just it's super creative, collaborative process.
Great. Well, I think that about does it for our
Yeah.
time. A pleasure speaking with you both.
Yeah.
You too.
Thanks for coming down.
Yeah. No.
Yes.
Thank you for coming down.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And thank you for coming down.
Oh.
And that's
Yes.
right. Yes.
And thank
So please come
Thank
support Long Beach sketch and improv comedy. Held2gether, Held2gether.com.
Yeah.
And
we're gonna look up there.
from the Held2gether team and Stage Explorations, mark your calendar for the Held2gether Sketches 11 production at the Long Beach Playhouse. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you at the theater.
Bye.
Bye.
Adios.